What makes something valuable? Something is said to have value if it is either rare or useful, or hopefully both. For example, if you have a fish and there are thousands of fish and everyone has an abundance of fish, that fish is useful, but it's not rare, so its value is probably not very high. If you had, say, a piece of kryptonite, the only piece of kryptonite, that would probably be valuable because it was extremely rare. It's not useful unless you have a Superman problem, but it would be valuable. What makes this block of silver valuable? Well, it's fairly rare. There's only so much of it on the earth, and you have to dig and search for it high and low before you find any. And even then it's hard to get out of the ground and turn into a form where you can use it for something. But it can be done, and once it is done, it has value because it's useful and it's somewhat rare. Gold, same kind of thing. It's more rare, at least in the ground, and it's somewhat useful. It's generally considered less useful these days, in industry anyways, than silver, but overall it does have a lot of value. Since the beginning of recorded history, and probably further back than that even, valuable things like metals have often been used in bartering. If you have some silver on hand, you can usually trade that for something else of value. And it went that way for a very, very, very long time. Up until about 100 years ago. Back then we had money that was made of valuable things. Money was made of discs of copper, a specific amount of copper, so you would know how much you are trading to somebody, or silver, which is generally considered more valuable than copper. All this stuff was used to even out a trade. For example, if someone had a cow and the other person had 2 daughters, the person trading the daughters for the cow would have to pitch in a little bit of silver and copper, perhaps, because cows are very valuable. So gold and silver, and to a smaller extent copper, were traded a lot back then, and your money was valuable in itself. Money was not a representation of value, but money was valuable. If you lost some money, you lost something of value. It's gone. Now, a strange thing started to happen in the world, especially in the US around 1913. And in the following decades, money changed. It was not quite as valuable. Well, it's still cents. It was still cents and dollars, the same way it was before, but it wasn't quite as valuable. You had copper that wasn't quite as pure, and you had, instead of silver, you had nickel, which back then was considered worthless. Now, of course, nickel is semi-precious metal, I guess you could say, along with copper. So we had to get rid of that too. And we got steel. Steel, and colored steel, to make it look like it's copper. We don't even use copper anymore in our money. Our money actually has no value. It's not rare, especially the paper stuff or the digital stuff, and it's not all that useful either. So unfortunately, we can't really use this steel for anything. You can't turn this steel into, say, I don't know, a bed frame or something very easily. And even if you wanted to, steel is incredibly cheap because iron is everywhere on this planet. Heck, a while back they even went from using copper and nickel, this being copper and this containing some copper and some nickel as well, $1 and $2 coins, worth a lot in denomination compared to these older coins, but which has more value? Well, these have about the same value, this penny and this dollar. This penny's older and they actually used pure copper rather than just a little bit of copper in these and colored them, and a little bit of copper and a little bit of nickel in these. And if you see the link in the sidebar, they actually aren't even making loonies and toonies out of real metal anymore. They're using steel. As of next year, your dollar isn't even worth a cent. So you get this. Steel. Not valuable. So you see, the money that we had in our pockets went from being value in itself to just representing value. Now we have pieces of steel, and we have pieces of paper, and we have digits on a screen that have no value. But we're told that it's valuable. We're told that we want it and we need it to get the things that are of value, like food and clothing and warmth. But what's going to happen when people realize money has no value anymore? You have to actually go out and buy bullion now to have something of value. The question in this video is, how do you store your value? In things that you've been told are valuable, or that look like things that have value, or in things that actually do have value? I think that question's an important one right now. Have a good night.